If you want to be safe and you want to get into success and into production quickly, success leaves clues. You need to pick them up. And most of the top agents have coaches. That just is what it is. Otherwise, you're going to learn through trial and error, which means you're going to try things and it's going to fail. And it's very slow. It's risky because this is your career. A large number of agents, I think it's 33% every year, don't even make it through their first year. And 87% don't make it 5 years. So the numbers aren't that great. And that's people usually trying to do it yourself. And it's really important to kind of stand on the shoulders of giants, find the ones that have done it before, find what they do and follow those models that work. And there's lots of different models and there's lots of different ways it can work. And a good coach can lay all those out to you and find what's the best fit for you.
Hi, I'm Noel with today's Brew, where top producing real estate agents and coaches share their tips and tricks on taking more listings, making more money, and having fun doing it. On today's episode, we welcome Brian Icenhower. Brian, how are you?
Hi, Noel. I'm doing great. Excited to be on your show. It's my first time, so
Well, we are really happy to have you on. Let's talk about you for a little bit and let everyone know who you are and about your coaching company.
Sure. Yeah, I've actually been in the business. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, about 35 years. Over those years, I'm going way back. I ran a real estate team a long time ago. I've ran many different brokerages. Still own quite a few of them: mortgage companies, title companies, commercial real estate companies, property management companies.
You do it all.
Yeah, we operate a real estate fund as well too, and basically all the affiliate businesses that happen around brokerages. And over the years, as we've grown up, obviously other people run those operations now. And that freed me up to do what I really wanted to do, which is kind of coach and train other people how to do it. So our coaching and training company is a little bit unique compared to the others out there. And the main reason behind that is our type of clientele. Our clientele typically is going to be people that are leaders. They can be leaders of real estate teams, leaders of real estate brokerages, leaders of entire national real estate brands. And we coach and we train them. And we provide them coaching, and we provide their agents that are within their organizations coaching and training as well. We provide them with online systems that all of their agents have logins to. They can create their own courses. They can use our courses. They can train in there. They can create calendars, messages, and it interacts with all their online stuff as well too. So the reason we do that is because over the years, I think probably about 6 years ago, we found out that, you can coach one person and they may be the leader of a real estate team of 50 people, but then they've got to turn around and somehow get the content from that call to their people. And, that's one way to do it. And that can be challenging with time and different personalities and things. Or you could put us on the phone with those people. And that's not nearly as effective as well too, because now it's not coming from their leader. But if we can provide them systems that their leader can direct them to and hold them accountable to, so we can actually coach the leader on being the leader, and then coach directly to the agents on different content. We can actually impact a large number of people that way. So our clients typically, we've got clients that have 12,000 agents in their brokerages. We've got, and they're in multiple states, and we've got clients that, they're just small teams starting out, with one agent hiring one or two people. We've got luxury teams. We've got flipping teams. We've got just about everything. It's very exciting to work with all these different organisms,
Absolutely. It keeps you on your toes too. You have to be well-versed. You have to be well-versed in every aspect.
So we have to have different types of coaches for that too. We've got about 38 coaches now, and they're all different types with different specialties and expertises that can work with these different people.
So I have a question, and I want to bring it up. So you mentioned personality traits and then different coaches for different people. So for agents that might be newer that are watching this, when I first got into the business, I was like a real estate coach. What? Like, never heard of it, never had any idea what it was. So for newer agents, what does a coach mean? What is the difference to an agent having a coach and not having a coach?
Yeah, I think there's a few different ways you can go here. Certainly if you want to be safe and you want to get into success and into production quickly, success leaves clues. You need to pick them up. And, most of the top agents have coaches. That just is what it is. Otherwise, you're going to learn through trial and error, which means you're going to try things and it's going to fail. And you're going to, it gets it's very slow. It's risky because this is your career. A large number of agents, I think it's 33% every year, don't even make it through their first year. And 87% don't make it 5 years. So the numbers aren't that great. And that's people usually trying to do it yourself. And it's really important to kind of stand on the shoulders of giants, find the ones that have done it before, find what they do and follow those models that work. And there's lots of different models and there's lots of different ways it can work. And a good coach can lay all those out to you, and find what's the best fit for you. But again, a coach costs money and he's going to make you do uncomfortable things because a lot of agents, they want to do it their way. And that's risky. I mean, they're that I hope it's proven.
Yeah. Typically if they're coming to you, they probably need help and their way isn't working. So you mentioned you have 38 coaches with your company now.
Yes.
So do you align those with different personality styles?
Absolutely. Yeah. When we first bring on a new client, we get a pretty good, idea of their person. We use the DISC for this. We use other behavioral assessments out there, but the DISC is quick, it's easy. And, before we get to know someone, you can kind of tell by their rate of speech and their tonality and the way they're talking on the phone, what rough profile you have. And then before we place them with a coach, though, we do make them take an actual assessment. So we zero that in and try to put them that way. And then, of course, how we teach them to grow their business. There's a million ways to skin a cat, and certain profiles are going to be better at farming than prospecting, for example.
Oh yeah.
So trying to know which is which, and then putting them with a coach that matches them too. It's pretty. Most behavioral assessments are going to say, okay, you're good for this type of job, which is neat. But I can't necessarily spot what profile someone else is, and without having them take an assessment.
Absolutely.
So
and then
I don't need to have them take an assessment. I can just kind of see and say, oh, this is an S. Now I can slow my pitch. I can be more steady in my voice. I can match their tonality. And I know that S's are really into safety and security. So I can use those buzzwords a lot. And I can all of a sudden, really click with them, connect with them, and get them to really listen to what I'm having to say. Can't do that with other behavioral assessments that are really tailored for one purpose. The DISC is your driver. It's your driven, your pusher guy, the I is your influencer. They're your high social. That's your prototype agent. Very, very social, smiley, happy, not so organized, kind of flits about the room, big old networker. And then your S is your steady, stable, security based, kind of tends to be a little bit slower in their rate of speech. And then your C I always say C is your compliant behavior. Think of an engineer. They're very much 2 + 2 = 4. Okay. People tend to get in the way a little bit. They like to kind of do it their way. You don't see a whole lot of them in real estate, but there's a good enough group of them, and I've seen them succeed. I've seen all the profiles succeed at different levels, but they all have their different strengths and things like that.
I was actually going to ask you that, and I've never asked this question before, but is there a personality style that is more coachable?
Yeah, I would say the most coachable personality style is the S, which is the majority of humans. Now, in other words, they'll listen and they're very coachable. In other words, they want to learn and they will take the time to learn. Now, there are some negatives with the S, is they don't like change and they really don't like to put themselves out there. They like to stay steady, secure, locked in. So, getting them to do it takes, a little bit of a push sometimes. But, some of my best leaders, BRSs, if they can get through the business generation early stages, once they get up into leadership, they get coaches, they get systems, you know what I mean? They follow the instructions so well. Whereas, the D and I's, which are your guys that'll get out the gates fast and sell a lot of real estate and just kind of throw themselves out there. And who cares if they screw up? They don't, they don't really care how they look. They're just going to get it done one way or the other. When they get up to leadership, they get past, selling 30, 40 transactions a year and they start having to work with other people. They actually go into there like a bull in a china shop where, they don't follow the instructions very well and you can cause some pretty big damage. You see a lot of their teams blow up unless they get coachable in a hurry.
Yeah.
And they start to get humble and listen to what some other people have done that have been there before them. Um, but the S, man, they're great leaders when they get there. We just got to get them into production fast.
Okay. Okay. So do you already know what I am, or do you need more time talking to me?
No, I definitely can tell what you are already, Noel.
What am I?
You're an ID.
Okay. Okay. All right. I have
Yeah.
had so many people say that I'm a driver, and I always argue it so much.
No, but you're an I first. You're
Okay.
an influencer. You're social. Yeah, and you're an I first. The D comes behind. So and the D's a
Okay.
lot lower. So you very rarely are just one profile. You're almost always an SC or an SI or an ID or an IS.
Yeah.
You lead with the I. There's no
Okay.
doubt about that.
Okay. All
You
right.
lead with the I.
I'm going to read more about it. I remember taking the disc test 5 years ago.
Mhm.
But I'd have to go and
Well, I can't buy groceries without telling you what the person that's selling me the groceries is. Like I can tell by the rate of speech, even the fact you're laughing right there. You know what I mean? Like that's what an I would do. They show emotion. They're very warm. They talk to others. They're great with people. That's the
I
prototype.
always say amiable. So it's an I kind of an amiable? Okay, perfect.
Very. I
That's
say I's
exactly
and
what
S's
I
are.
say.
Yeah. Yep. That's for
That's
sure.
funny. All right, so let's talk a little bit about prospecting and generating more business. What should agents be doing?
What agents should be doing? Well, there's no doubt what agents should be doing is trying to get new business. That is, I just told you some really daunting stats, right? Like 33% don't make it
Yep.
after a year, and 87% don't make it 5 years. And, after decades upon decades of running big brokerages and watching agents not make it, the reason that they leave the business or they get out of the business is always because they don't make enough money.
Mhm.
Unless they're retiring. It's always because they don't make enough money. So that's this general um, general issue that they have. And so and then, if I ask agents after, I'll say, well, if you're not making enough money, we need new business, right?
Mhm.
And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, okay, well, how much time have you spent in the last week trying to get new business that you don't already have?
What's the average answer from your clients?
Less than, 0.
Yeah.
It's almost always right around none. I don't do anything to try to get business,
We're
and
waiting for someone to call them.
right. And so they're just not in charge of their business at all. It's
Mhm.
just like waiting on luck. And that it's very strange, and I'll see people like quit real estate and then they'll go literally work for another company where they make contacts and add contacts to the company's CRM because someone's making them doing it and they will
Yeah.
get fired if they don't. Yet when you ask them to leave that setting and do it for themselves, the same exact tasks, that inability to make themselves do it is the hard part. And, you know, that's humans.
Mhm.
And I'm that way too.
We all
Which
are.
is
Why do you
why
think people are so hesitant to make the
I,
calls?
I don't know, but I don't want to fix it. And the reason I don't want to fix it is because that's my job security. Like that's why people need coaches. Like if that gets fixed, if AI messes with that, we're in trouble. Because that is why, no one wants a coach for accountability, but it's the reason you should want it.
Mhm.
And someone keeps pushing you through your excuses because obviously you're going to hit obstacles trying to grow your business, trying to
Mhm.
generate new business. You're going to hit obstacles. There's no doubt about that. And a coach will fight you through them. A coach should be able to get you around them or give you the mindset to just kind of plug along, give you some alternative path around it, something like that. Very hard if you haven't been there yourselves to know those paths around it. So we tend to just quit and say, okay, I'm never going to prospect because I don't like when people reach out to me that I don't know. So I'm not going to do that. So there we just shut down 50% of lead generation sources, right?
Absolutely. That is people's mindset.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, no, I'm not calling them. I'd be mad if you called me."
Then
Mhm.
they'll say, I just want to work with the people I know. But then it's like, well, these are my friends. I feel like I'm using them and I'm bothering my friend, and they'll shut that down. All these things, all this internal, I can do it with just about anything. Pretty soon you start hiring people and you get frustrated with the people you're hiring. They don't work as hard as you. So that's not for me. So just start shutting down all these doors till there's nothing left. And that's when they quit. And that's why the vast majority don't make it.
Wow.
And they shut down. They honestly believe that the only business formula is the ones that stay in it. I would say 90% of those don't sell a lot. And the reason they don't sell a lot is because they think they have to sacrifice their time with their family and their personal life to sell a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what they think. That it's a terrible formula. And it's a formula no one should be on in any entrepreneurial business where you run your own business. Is the only way to make more money is to work harder and have less free time. That is a terrible model. So we got to get off that. I mean, that's where leverage comes in. That's where you see people growing organizations in any industry, not just real estate. Many of our clients do not work in production at all anymore. My wife is the highest producing agent in Central California, and she doesn't take listings. She doesn't show buyers property. She has someone else who runs her team. She's fully out of production. She takes the kids to school every day because she wants to. She doesn't even let me do it half the time. And then she picks them up. She takes them to sporting events, and very successful woman right there that just wants to be present with her kids. And she's available to her team, and she helps her team build up and make sure everything's going there. And if she lost some personnel or something, she'd have to step back in. And that's one example. We have tons of clients that do that too. So growing so that you never get out of whack with working too much, man, that's really important for entrepreneurs. Yeah, there'll be times you have to work harder than others, don't get me wrong, but it should not be the norm. And you see that way too much with agents, especially in the spring and summer during what I call the harvest season, where about 70% of transactions are done in America. So, here comes beautiful spring when you want, your kids are getting out of school in summer and you want to take trips and vacations and enjoy life and go outside and run on the beach and all the stuff you want to do. But you can't because that's the busiest time of the year for you. So it's just like this terrible, without anybody to help you, like to navigate that. It can be very, very tough. And I honestly think that's why, the top 10% of all the agents in America are now doing 90% of the business, is because they figured it out. The rest are trying to figure it out on their own without instructions. And they put themselves in this little shell where they say, okay, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm just going to have to handle the 10 to 15 transactions I can over the spring and summer. And there's going to be lots of sacrifice. I mean, it's going to be terrible when you come back from a vacation. It's going to be terrible when you're on vacation. It's going to, even getting ready for a vacation, you're kind of going to be a mess, and you're not going to be that available.
Oh, I know. I always laugh. I go on a annual trip every year, and I'm never going to cancel it because I swear every time I go on this one trip, I'm busy.
Oh yeah.
It's the busiest time of the year for me. So I always say, I'm definitely not giving up this trip, but you're right, because I have some friends who will say, I could never do what you do because you work all the time. And I'm like, well, not all the time, definitely not all the time, but you do have to put in some work, and there are later hours sometimes. And I guess that's where you kind of have to have some boundaries. Because I still get messages at 7 a.m. from past clients, and I've had messages at 11:30 p.m. from past clients. They could be a year old. So how important is it for agents to create that kind of structure? And still be there for their clients, but also not have their life bombarded by questions and texts and phone calls? How can they feel like they're still there? Because, some people like myself, the amiable type, is going to be like, oh, if I don't answer, are they going to be upset? Are they going to find the answer elsewhere? How do we feel good about it?
Well, depending where you are, it's a little bit tough. I mean, like I said, most of our clients are organizations, right? So, if anybody calls my wife, someone's picking up. It's not my wife, but it's someone. And those people are good. So typically, you've got admin processes, and she's got, she's got administrative managers. She's got listing to contract people for all the people that are, listing before it goes under contract. And then you got contract to close people, and they're going to help you. And they're going to reach out proactively to you. That's the quickest way you can do it is, just have them know that every single Friday, sometime before noon, they are going to get an email and a phone call, usually at the same time, from your listing manager that's going to update you on everything that happened last week. So quite frankly, if your clients are calling you, you've got a huge customer service problem. Huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. If you work with any service professional and you're always having to call them,
Mhm.
you're upset that you have to call them. Like, I hired
Absolutely.
you. Why am I reaching out to you? And you see agents constantly getting calls and questions from their clients. Well, if you schedule that, the
Mhm.
reason I do it on Friday mornings, and if you're a solo agent, tell them I'm going to call you every Friday morning. Why? Because that'll be fresh in their minds and they won't need to call you Friday night or Saturday or Sunday when you're, trying to spend time with your family. So you call them Fridays and you
Mhm.
update them on everything that happened that week. They won't feel the need to call you if they know you're calling anyway.
Yes.
That
Yes.
makes sense. So you take control of the communication, say, I'm gonna call you. And if you happen to have your phone on, you open up your email, there might be some stuff I'm going to talk about in the
Mhm.
email. Like how many viewings we had on your listing, online, how many showings we had, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like how many phone calls, how many second showings, things like that. All of those types of things. So they're not sitting there worrying, why hasn't my listing sold? You're selling them. I got 3,000 people to look online. We've had like 6 showings. That's slowing down, so we can start prepping them for a price reduction if we
Yeah.
should need to, right? But again, if you don't say anything to them and you just call them one day and say, hey, nothing yet, I'm surprised. We might need to reduce the price. That
Mhm.
doesn't go over very well. But if you're
Yeah.
honestly calling them every single week and letting them know, the same thing's true when you go contract to close. You get under contract to close, let them know. I'm going to call them every single week. We got the appraisal back. Good news. It appraised for value, or hey, we got an inspect. Just remind you the next inspection's coming up. It's in 2 weeks. Also always want to remind them the closing date is still scheduled for this date. We're going to remove contingencies on this date. So you're always updating them and reminding them about the important dates, but you making the phone calls.
Yes.
You're making the phone calls. You're telling them on those phone calls, let's get they've waived their contingencies. Let's get those moving trucks ready. Here's the date. Here's our move-in checklist. Is there anything else you need from me? Okay, I'm going to call you next Friday. Okay. That
Mhm.
sound good? And all of a sudden you're like dictating, this is our weekly meeting.
Yeah.
So
You're staying in control.
you stay in control and you let them know they don't have to stress out and reach out to you. Because you know what it is, they have a question in their head and they don't know the answer. They have a
Mhm.
question in their head, they don't answer, and they kind of live on it, stew on it for a couple days
Mhm.
until they call you. By then, they're furious. No one's
Oh, yeah.
called me.
I'm an over communicator though. So I over communicate to my clients just because of that exact reason. I don't want anybody upset with me.
Right.
I'll talk to them for the next 2 weeks after their closing just to make sure the
Right.
moving went well and the people that you recommend. So I want to move into one more subject, and that would be lead follow-up. I know that that's probably one of our worst habits is not following up as agents. So what is a good way to do that other than like something that I just said, like once they close and they move and you touch base with, renovations and movers and how things went. Once you get past those 30 days, what's a meaningful way that agents can reach out?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking following up with past clients, then I definitely like like you said, heavy contact right after closing. I also like a 60-day call. Say, hey, call them and just let them know, hey guys, how's the house going? Are there any problems? Number one, is there
Mhm.
anything you're thinking about doing to the house, like improvements, things like
Mhm.
that? Because if so, always reach out to me first. Right.
Exactly.
I want to be kind of like your Angie's List for your home. And here's why it's better for you. It's really because, see, I've got all these vendors I have to work with all the time. I give them a lot of business. So because they rely on so much business from me, I can make sure they give you the best price possible and the highest level of customer service because they want to keep me happy. So
Mhm.
always go through me first to get the best deal and the best service. Does that make sense to you? They will basically say, yes, sir. And then I'm their continuous resource, right?
Exactly. So then at which point would you start to transition those phone calls into looking for new business, having them refer people to you?
Yeah, well, number one, if you're constantly helping your people like that, they're going to have no problem referring you to other people. because now what they're, they're just like, wow, I've never had a realtor that stayed with me, that called back, that called me on my house anniversary. That's the 1 year anniversary of their closing day, that constantly stays with and checks back at least once or twice a year for the same thing. How's the house going? Just checking in. Another thing we can do there, just to add value before I get to your question about getting referrals, because you really want to make sure that when you ask for referrals, they really feel like you're awesome. Okay. That's crucial. Like, you don't ask for referrals and you've really just done kind of a marginal job. You got closing done and there wasn't a lot of but if we're following up and we're adding value and we're trying to help them, getting contractors out there to give them multiple bids on things. And I mean, that's above and beyond 99.9% of agents. They're going to love you if you're calling them on their house anniversary. Another thing we do is we do an annual property analysis, which every single year we call them up, and I try to do it by Zoom, or I try to have our clients do it by Zoom, I should say, where we actually go through and actually say, hey, we do this as a service to all of our clients. We try to do it annually, so you know what your home is worth as the year goes on, because it's, for most people, it's their biggest asset. And they have their most.
You have no idea.
So we get in there and we kind of show them, here's the houses that have closed in your neighborhood. Here's what they all sold for. Based on those prices per square foot, let's say, or, whatever else, you can see your home's probably in this range right now. So it's already gone up this much. You got a lot of equity. You can make people feel very, very good. And if you do that continuing service of that annual property analysis and you become their Angie's List, helping them with all their, their needs around their house or the town, if they're new to the town or something like that, they need a dentist, they need a lawyer, they need all those things. They always call you first. I mean, by that point, if they were to use another person to buy their next home, it would be awkward. I mean, that just never happens. They just love you. Number two, anybody they're talking to about you, they're going to be like, oh, he's the best. I mean, it's crazy. Like he calls me, he gives me the values of the house every single year. He hooks me up with all the best contractors, gives me great deals on prices and stuff. Man, I'd pay him double commission how much he's saved me since then. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. I've not had one person say that to do that. My office that I work in, they'll have like a CMA competition like once a year and let's see how many people can send out the most, which is brilliant because like you said, at some point that person's going to go, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I might want to sell.
That's right. Absolutely. Another thing we like to do too is say, hey, if you're, in that annual property analysis, I'll say something along the lines, hey, one of the things we do for a lot of our clients is they kind of like to know throughout the year in between these meetings how their home price is going up in value. So basically we set them up on a listing e-alert for their own neighborhood.
Okay.
So they live in there. So if any of your neighbors' homes go up for sale, you will get full realtor access. You'll know about that listing before any of the other agents do, because you can set it up on a daily alert. So all of a sudden not many agents go look at every new listing in their town.
Yeah, I love it.
But they get an email right away and they'll know, even sometimes before the sign goes up, that listing is available. And now you get to, quote unquote, look through all the photos of the inside and outside of your neighbor's home.
That's probably good, right?
Inside of my neighbor's homes. Finally, I get to see what it's like in there. So they love it. And then what you can do is you compare their amenities to your amenities, their size to your size, and kind of get a rough idea of how your house would sell throughout the year. I mean, you can, it's a service we provide to you.
Yeah, it's great.
We can do it for you. If not, about 90% say, yes, I would like that. You can always say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore by clicking the button at the bottom.
No, unsubscribe.
So it's service we provide, right? And so we're telling them how much their house is worth. We're showing them other options. You tend to get a lot of move-up buyers when that happens, which is smart. Move-up buyers is what you want because you're getting people to invest more in real estate. Like if, real estate will go up based upon a percentage. Let's say it goes up 5% per year, which is kind of the norm for the last, 15 years, let's say. So let's say it goes up 5% a year. If they own a $400,000 house, that's pretty awesome. They get a 5% increase, right? In a year. What is that? Carry the one. What is that? $20,000 their house goes up in value, right?
Yep.
But if they own an $800,000 house,
oh yeah,
you make them $80,000, or $40,000, excuse me. So it's almost like they own two houses. And if you own two, I mean, anybody that owns more real estate, more doors, more houses over time is going to make more money and get more wealth. So if you can get people the confidence to buy up, at least with their personal residence, you know, and then they might say things, hey, I'm looking for a rental too. Well, I can set you up on that too, you know, and then, okay, good move. You know, it's smart. We own rentals, blah, 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 you know. So yeah, we'll set you up on the criteria you're looking for there, all of that kind of thing. So all of that starts to happen. Now you're just everywhere they look, right? Obviously you're connected with them on social media. They see you everywhere. You're doing this annual property analysis. You're giving them emails. You're adding value everywhere. So your customer service doesn't stop at closing. And then you vanish like a ghost with your commission check. You continue to earn that commission check afterwards. And they don't, people like clients like that do not negotiate your commissions down. You've shown value. You've demonstrated it. You've given them a test drive. So they really, really have a good time referring, you know, and it really works out well. And, you know, then what you do is it's really easy to slip in there and just say, hey, you know, I pretty much work, you know, I prefer to work exclusively by referral. Okay. Even though you probably don't work, you know, you prefer,
yes, it sounds
I prefer to work by referral, which means I want to work with people I know and who they know. And I love working with you. So I know, you know, you probably hang around with other people I work with too. So if you happen to bump into any of your friends that are looking to buy or sell real estate, would you ever have any problem referring them to me?
Love
they
it.
just shut up. And they're saying, no. That'd be great.
Absolutely not.
I'd say super. I go, hey, well, I got you. Can you think of anybody right now? And just shut up and just let the silence do everything.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Yeah. We have gained so much from you today, and I really appreciate your time. And I want to have you back on because we can go so much further another time. If people want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Why don't you see my last name there? Just go to EicenhowerCoaching.com. ICENHOWER coaching.com. You can reach out to me anywhere on there. Look at all our different coaching programs, training programs, everything right there is probably the best way to find us and learn a little bit more.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Noel.